Hey, I'm your host, Melissa, and I want to welcome you to Not Your Average Blonde podcast. I'm here to show you how to elevate your life to become the best version of yourself. I want to take you along your journey to be anything but average and step into your confidence era. Join me each week by subscribing and listening to Not Your Average Blonde podcast, and let's begin our journey to become anything but average. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Blonde. I'm your host, Melissa, and today I want to give you a bit of a life update and a bit of a personal reality check that I've had lately. If you had asked me a year ago where I would be right now, I probably would have given you a well thought out plan because, I'm that type of person. I like to have things planned. I like to know where I'm going. I have my goals, I have my vision, and I go after it tenaciously. But let me tell you what has happened, especially over this last year, has not been what I really ever expected. I had goals, a vision, aspiration, and I thought I knew exactly where I was headed. But let me tell you that life has such a way of humbling you a lot. And it's been nonstop for the past year, especially professionally. Over the past few months and the past year, I've had a lot of reality checks and so many roadblocks for aspirations I've had on the professional front. And it has been so hard. Like I said, life, it just has a way of humbling you and stopping you and pushing you in the direction that you need to go. And it was frustrating. I hit that point last summer where I had all these professional goals I wanted to hit. They were well within the realm of reason. I had a very good track record, and I just kept getting blocked by people, by time, by circumstances. And it was so frustrating. I doubled down, kept trying harder and harder and harder. And it felt like the harder I pushed, the harder I ran into this brick wall that just would not move. And I had to reach a point where I had to step back and just reassess my goals of, okay, maybe I need to pivot here because this is not working no matter how hard I'm trying and how much energy I'm putting towards it and how much focus and how creative I'm getting with solutions to be able to get to this point. And like I said, it aligns within my profession, and I just could not make it work. And that was one of those reality checks where I had to kind of step back and reflect. And okay, let me redirect my energy elsewhere because this is wasted effort. And like I said, over this time, with these reality checks culminating, especially in this most recent series of events, it has really forced me to slow down and rethink my priorities and accept that no matter how much I try to control things, there is no perfect roadmap for life. There's not. No perfect roadmap for any of us. Murphy's always going to show up. Events are always going to happen. You just don't know. But that's the thing. It's okay. For those of you who have been following along my podcast, thank you again for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And those who have reached out with your comments of love, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much during this time. Has been a wonderful reminder that I'm not alone. And the love that you guys have shared with me has been, like I said, I can't thank you enough. I don't have words for it. And for those who are new, I haven't fully gone out with this on social media yet, and I probably will do a post on it in the future. But I recently have been dealing with some serious health issues and challenges that have really altered my day-to-day life. It has affected my routine, my career, my energy, and everything in my life has really had to shift drastically. And it's thrown my future into the unknown, which is fucking wild. And weirdly, I'm at peace though with accepting what may come. There's so much that's outside of my control right now, but I'm focusing on one, healing and taking care of my mind and my body, and two, focusing on those things that I can control, what I can create, and most importantly, my mindset towards the present and the future. I feel at peace with that. I feel at peace weirdly with all the chaos that's going on and the confidence in my mindset to take on whatever is coming in this next chapter. For several months, I've been in this period of change. It's kind of wild because it's really hit down on that deep soul level that change is happening, change is occurring. It's going to be a bit of a process, but change is coming. Winter is coming, change is coming, which is kind of wild and also really cool. And it's been interesting in the sense that this feeling of knowing that I'm undergoing change and that I'm closing out a chapter and going to be welcoming in a new chapter. It can be unsettling at times being in this limbo state, but I feel so at peace and confident for the future. And it's really cool. Now, how the universe has decided to present that change has been kind of wild because I remember thinking back in October of ooh, I feel like a lot is changing, but there's so much going on in my life whether it's like people, old relationships that are falling out, and then new relationships that are coming in that are on this higher level, this higher frequency that I'm on and that I'm morphing into, has been really cool to see. And so I literally told the universe, hey, I'm okay with this change and I'm going to go ahead and go with it. But the universe decided to continue to shake things up for me. So a couple weeks ago, I recently got out of the hospital for having symptoms of a stroke and a diagnosis of dural venous sinus thrombosis, DVST. I'm not even sure if I'm like pronouncing that correctly, but it's a rare medical condition of blood clots that have formed in the large veins in my brain. And it's cutting off like the circulation to a lot of parts of my brain. It's giving me symptoms of having strokes, puts me at high risk for seizures as well, has, been impacting like my ability to function. It's literally blocking blood flow from draining from my brain and restricting blood flow within my brain, which has been affecting my performance and especially me mentally a lot for the past couple of months. I'm incredibly grateful. I was able to get answers for some of the health concerns I've been trying to find answers to for the past few months. And I'm grateful to be alive and to be here. I started getting really bad migraines back in November timeframe, and they were really bad. Like we're talking, it's knocking out my vision. It's making me super nauseous. It's giving me vertigo, really intense pain in my head, and they would last over a week. It was wild. And went in to go see doctors, and they were kind of like, oh, well, we'll check it again in like 30 days, or, we don't have enough to be able to run tests, but the universe is way. I ended up in the ER a couple weeks ago, got admitted into the hospital. I got more than enough like tests, which I'm so grateful for, because like the location of where these like blood clots are would have been very difficult to find. And they actually missed them in the first several like rounds of testing that they did. They did a couple of days worth of like tests around the clock. And they eventually like found the cause of this. And so I'm incredibly grateful to, one, to be alive and to be here, and to two, to have answers. It has been such a roller coaster of emotions the past few weeks, dealing with the impacts that this has had on my body and my brain. This has impacted my work, and it has even put my future employment in jeopardy. There's a rare chance that I'll be allowed to fly again. And with this diagnosis, it could permanently ground me. I'll still be able to fly commercially so I can go see friends and travel around the world at a later date. But professionally, there's a very good chance that I will either need a series of waivers to be allowed to be able to fly again, or it just might ground me permanently, which honestly makes me really sad, especially because even if I'm recreationally flying, which the FAA is pretty strict on their health requirements for it, there's nothing like flying a plane by yourself and then landing it. And that does make me a bit sad that I might lose that opportunity, but staying optimistic here. But professionally, there's going to be a lot of impacts that this is going to have on my future. And as of right now, that's going to be a bridge that, I'll cross when I get there. I will cross that in the future. For now, I'm focusing more on the day-to-day of my life. I've had to adjust my day-to-day activities by minimizing my stress and activities that add that extra strain or pressure into my life. I've been having those crippling migraines, and that has severely impacted my vision and my memory, sometimes my physical abilities. And I've had to work through that, do some exercises and stuff. And thankfully, I'm getting a lot of that back. Those migraines still do impact my vision and cause vertigo. And so it makes it really hard because my body is literally forcing me to take things day by day, and even my day in like chunks. And it's been a lot. I'll be honest, it's been a bit of a massive mind fuck, because it's been hard, not just physically, but mentally. It has really been testing everything that I believe and teach about mindset and everything that I'm sharing here on this podcast. And which is kind of cool, because this has really forced me to practice and refine the skills that I'm sharing with you through this podcast and through social media. And here's the thing, is like, we're all taught to believe that by a certain point in life, we should have it all figured out. And this whole experience I'm going through right now, it definitely has humbled me, especially in that regard. It's forcing me to really dig down deep and to embody these mindset perspectives that I'm sharing with you. It's tough because society, it makes it feel like we should have a 5-year plan. We should be climbing some ladder, checking off milestones, and moving in a linear and upward direction. But the thing is, life doesn't work like that. If you're feeling stuck, lost, or like you're falling behind, I want you to know that you are not alone. This is why I want to have that conversation with you today, because none of us have it all figured out. Life is going to throw curveballs and abruptly change your plans, and that is okay. We are going to pivot. It's so easy to look at people's lives and assume that they have it all together. And that's the illusion of certainty, especially with social media. But guess what social media is? It's either an illusion or only a moment frozen in time or a few seconds of someone's life. Think about that. We have 86,400 seconds in a day. 86,400 seconds. You view someone's reel on Instagram, you're only seeing a curated 10 or 30 second snippet of their life. 10 or 30 seconds of that 86,400. That's not very much. And we tend to cast so much judgment and perceive their life just based on that small snippet or even that moment that's frozen in time from social media. Social media makes it seem like everyone has their dream career, the perfect relationship, and the right balance of discipline and ease, and that they knew what they wanted from day one. But let's be real, we only see the highlight reel. The highlight reel, that's it. The truth, even the most successful people you admire are figuring it out as they go. They've made mistakes, they've pivoted, they've doubted themselves, and they've had moments where they just felt as lost as you might feel right now. I've had to remind myself of this a lot lately. There have been so many moments in the past few months where I've thought, what am I even doing? Where is this going? Where am I going with my life? Am I making the right decisions? But here's the shift. It's okay to not know. It's okay to figure things out as you go. So what happens when life forces you to pivot? Sometimes life doesn't give you a choice. Like right now, life is not giving me the choice. It forces you into a season of uncertainty. Maybe it's a health scare, like what I'm dealing with. Maybe it's a career shift, a breakup, a move, a loss. You never know. Life likes to keep it interesting. You just never know. But when something unexpected happens, it's easy to panic, to feel like everything is falling apart. But what if, instead of seeing it as a loss, we saw it as an opportunity? We're reframing our mindset. It's not a loss, it's an opportunity. I've had to rethink what success looks like for me, especially right now. Success isn't about pushing myself to the limit. It's not about working those long hours and getting in those slides and showing up and studying and flying as many hours as I can. No, I've had to completely pivot. My success right now for me, it's about learning how to heal, how to listen to my body, how to trust that stepping back doesn't mean I'm failing. If you're in a season of uncertainty, give yourself permission to pause. Your worth is not tied to how much you produce or how on track you appear to be. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to let yourself breathe and trust that clarity will come with time. So how do you navigate uncertainty with a growth mindset? So if we're all figuring things out, how do we actually move forward when everything is up in the air? 3 mindset shifts that have helped me is 1, you don't need to see the whole staircase. Just take the next step. In Colorado, there's this hike in Colorado Springs. It's literally called the Incline. It's this massive staircase up the side of a mountain. And as you're hiking the staircase, there is a false summit that a lot of people don't know about. So they see the summit and they're like, oh, I'm almost there. Like, I'm almost there. But it gives them that false sense of security as they're hiking and focusing on the summit. But when they reach that point, a lot of people get discouraged at how much longer they actually have left because the real summit is much further ahead than that false summit. And here's the thing though, when you're starting out, you don't need to see everything. You don't need to see the actual summit. You don't have to have the entire plan laid out. Just focus on the next right thing. And sometimes all that is just taking that next step. 2, uncertainty isn't failure. It's part of the process. Feeling lost doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're growing, evolving, and opening yourself up to new possibilities. And the 3rd mindset shift that has helped me is your identity isn't tied to one single path. I see so many people who tie their identity to their profession, especially in the industry that I am. So many people identify themselves by like the status that they are and by what they do. And they go through a major identity crisis when it comes to retirement or when they get out. But the thing is, your identity isn't tied to that one single path. You are not your job. You are not your relationship status. You are not one single decision. You are a dynamic, ever-evolving person, and you are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to pivot. You are allowed to start over as many times as you need to. These shifts have been essential for me lately, and I hope that they can help you too. And if you're in a season where you feel like you're just floating through life without a clear direction, here's what I want you to do right now. Instead of stressing about having a plan, ask yourself, and maybe take a moment, like write these down. What excites you right now? Write it down on a list. What are those things that get you excited? And that can be as simple as I wake up in the morning and I have my favorite sourdough toast and enjoy the sunlight with my cup of coffee. Or I'm excited to go to the beach, whatever it may be. I'm excited to wake up and see my dog. Whatever it is, write down what excites you right now. Next question is, what's one small step you can take towards something that interests you? One small step. All it has to be. And the 3rd thing is, what would I do if I wasn't afraid of failing? I have a really good mentor who always asks me that question. He was like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And sometimes it's kind of really hard to answer, I'll be honest, especially in the moment or being put in the spot. And that has been one of those questions I've really have had to sit with and ask myself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid of failing? You don't need to have all the answers right now. The thing is, just start somewhere. Clarity comes from action, not from overthinking, which I know can be so hard to do sometimes, especially with those of us who have like ADHD. We love to overthink. But like I said, clarity comes from action. It's from taking like that step. So right now, I'm currently in a season of transition. There are so many unknowns in my life. It's wild because like with this health stuff, it's just really throwing everything into flux. And all the plans that I thought I had for the next like year, 2 years of like my life are just really up in the air. There's some things that are still on the table. There's some things that's not. There's a lot of things that are unknown that I just don't know about anymore, which is kind of wild. My health has really forced me to reevaluate everything, literally everything in my life. But I'm taking this time, especially where I'm given the space to focus on healing and a process and to really sit with myself to assess all those things in my life. I'm assessing my career. I'm assessing my relationships. I'm assessing my pace, especially professionally. I'm assessing my pace and how I approach life and that balance that I have. I'm assessing my future and my vision and my goals. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm learning to be okay with that. But here's what I do know. I'm prioritizing my health and energy, and healing is my number one focus right now. I'm doubling down on my passions and things that help me feel good. Things like Not Your Average Blonde, this podcast. This platform means something to me. The connections that I have with each of you, it means something to me. And this concept, it means something to me. Like I really, truly do believe in the power of your mind and your mindset and how you approach life with that. It's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And I'm so excited to be able to share that with you and to be able to dive deeper into these different mindsets and mindset shifts. And lastly, I'm leaning into the unknown. Instead of fearing it, I trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And I feel at peace with that. It's really, really cool. So if you're feeling lost right now, let this be your permission slip to stop stressing about having it all figured out. No one has all the answers. No one has a perfect roadmap, but the people who move forward in life aren't the ones who always have a plan. They're the ones who are willing to take that next step, even when they don't know exactly where it's leading. So stop waiting for clarity, stop waiting to feel ready, and just start today. Because you are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be, and you have everything within you to figure it out step by step. So thank you for joining me today on Not Your Average Blonde. If you can please like, subscribe, and share with your friends, it really helps me out to hear your feedback. And especially when you share like these episodes, you can share it on Spotify, YouTube. I'm on Apple Podcasts as well. And let me know in the comments like what topics you want to hear about in the future. I'm also on Instagram too. You can always like DM me on there, especially if there's a specific topic that you want to talk about or something that you are struggling with. Like shoot me a message. I love to hear from you guys. So I will talk to you next Monday for another episode. And until then, take a deep breath, trust yourself, and just take that next step.